If you want to hear where you get that this holiday season, Uncommon Goods is your secret weapon. Uncommon Goods is here to make your holiday shopping stress-free by scouring the globe for the most remarkable and truly unique gifts for everyone on your list. Whether you're shopping for your Secret Santa or your entire family, Uncommon Goods knows exactly what they want. From art and jewelry to kitchen, home, and bar, Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same lackluster gifts you could find just anywhere. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out-of-the-ordinary gifts anywhere. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/3yardspercarry. That's uncommongoods.com/3yardspercarry. That's the number 3 yards per carry for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Today, we discuss Miro. Listen, when it comes to running client workshops, the dream, of course, is to get those creative juices flowing, right? But typically what ends up happening is thousands of hours get wasted because of poorly facilitated meetings. So I have Maya with me today. She's a consultant who runs Fortune 100 workshops, from leadership training to team building, and she has the insider tip on what makes things work. Maya?
Thank you, Jason. I've been doing this a long time. My number one tip is to bring everyone into that visual collaboration platform. So personally, I use Miro, and it's completely changed how I interact with the room. You have to give people a way to feel like they're in the room even when they're not. That's something you can do easily in Miro. Otherwise, they've seen the same slides and format 1,000 times.
Falling asleep, eyes glazing over, yawns, all that.
Exactly. When people follow me on the Miro board, everyone is literally going on a journey with me. We're adding thoughts, we're reacting, and we're voting for the best ideas. It's great.
Connective magic. I like it. That's MIRO.com.
Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry, a podcast covering the Miami Dolphins and the NFL. Now, here's your hosts, Chris, Alf, and Simon.
And we're on, and welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry. I'm Alfredo Arteaga. Simon Clancy is here. Chris Kaufman is not here because he's actually stuck in traffic right now. So he was going to be a little bit late, and we're recording this on Monday, and the all-important Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos is coming on, and we're not going to delay the show to get Chris on because I got to see that game. I got to witness that game because the entire AFC is conspiring to help the Dolphins, Simon. Did you get the theme over the weekend?
I kind of got the feeling that something was happening. Good weekend though for the Dolphins.
Yeah, like the Dolphins didn't play a game, but they won a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
It's good that one loss is getting erased. The problem is, I do believe that it's smooth sailing for the Kansas City Chiefs now for the 1 seed once again. So the Arrowhead Invitational will be on once again this year.
Yeah, the difficulty with this is though that you kind of want the Bengals to beat the Ravens on Thursday night because you don't want to be playing the Bengals in the wild card round. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of that would be the absolute killer to win the AFC East, get a home playoff, and then get screwed because the Bengals come to town. You know, you want somebody who's just about limped their way into the playoffs. Although the AFC looks really strong, you know, you want the Steelers, you know, a team that have been outgained on offense and on defense all season long. That's a team you want. Do you know what I mean? You don't want the Jags or you don't want the Bengals. I mean, that would be an absolute disaster. But like even obviously the Texans, nobody's playing as well as the Texans are at the moment. Certainly nobody's playing as well as CJ Stroud is at the moment. Cleveland, you know, Deshaun Watson, 3 quarters yesterday looked like Deshaun Watson of Houston. You know, so there's some interesting I think Denver will give the Bills a game tonight. I think Denver are a much better team since they had the shellacking by us. You know, they beat the Chiefs and beat them fair and square. They beat them comfortably. So I think there's some strong teams in the AFC, and you just don't. You know, that would be the ultimate nightmare, you know, when you're hoping for like an absolute Klingon team that's kind of got in at, you know, 8-9 or whatever, or 9-8, and you end up getting the Bengals at home, and it's Burrow and Chase and Higgins and Boyd and
and although the Bengals are all alone in last place right now,
they are, and the thing with the Bengals is that their divisional record isn't great, but their conference record is awful. They're 1-4 in conference. So, you know, they have pretty much got to win out and hope for some other help to really kind of solidify a place. But yeah, at the moment it looks like. But the Chiefs have got some. I mean, Chiefs Eagles Monday night. The Chiefs don't have like an easy run. They've got some difficult games coming up. We can get some momentum hopefully over the next 5 weeks. I mean, I don't think that the game next week will be easy. Especially with that. That Raiders defense isn't. They're no mugs. That Raiders defense, especially,
and they have two really good players, and we're going to talk about that on Thursday. I don't think it's going to be a walkover. I do think the Dolphins will win that game. Spoiler alert. But will it be easy? I don't think so. I think that one's a little closer.
The Chiefs have still got to play the Eagles. They've got to play the Raiders, and that they got to play the Raiders twice, and that division games, especially against the Raiders, aren't.
And I think they got one more against the Chargers, right?
Yeah, they got one more against the Chargers. Then they got the Bengals, and they got the Bills. So they haven't got the easiest to run in. So it goes Eagles, Raiders, Packers at Lambeau, then Buffalo at home, New England on the road, Raiders at home, Bengals at home, Chargers in LA. So it's not, they don't have a cakewalk all the way home. So,
and it's also, and I we will kick off the show here in a second once we're done with this, but it's also it's conceivable that the Dolphins run off these 5 in a row here against teams that they're going to be favored against.
Yeah.
And by the way, they will be favored in the 6th game against the Cowboys, but I'm not counting that one. If they run these 5 in a row, it's conceivable they can clinch the division by just winning these 5 in a row.
Yeah, and especially as the Bills. So the Bills obviously got the Jets on Sunday in the late window, but then they're at Philadelphia, at Kansas City, home to Dallas, at the Chargers, home to the Patriots, on the road to us. Yeah, they've got an absolute killer because, we said it again, that Jets offense is dire, although I expect Robert Saleh will make a change. I mean, he's got to make a change of quarterback, whether that's Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian.
They didn't trade for Josh Dobbs, I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a no-brainer.
An absolute no-brainer. I think Dobbs puts them in the playoffs.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah,
the defense is
this AFC.
The defense is superb. They can get home with 4. They've got rotating players on the edge. The interior is excellent. Williams is an excellent player. I know he doesn't have the numbers, but he's an excellent player. The linebacking core is as fast as there is in the league. Mosley is playing at a really high level, as is Quinn Williams' brother. And then the secondary is outstanding. Gardner and Reed on the outside are brilliant. I think Jordan Whitehead's a good player. That defense is absolutely as good as it gets in the NFL, but the offense is absolutely abject. But for Buffalo, if the Bills happen to lose tonight, a running of Jets, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers, Dolphins.
Yeah, if the Bills lose tonight, and it was conceivable they could have lost 2 home games to the Giants and the Bucks of all people. And if Godwin can find the ball in the air, they do lose that game against the Bucks. If they lose tonight, if they lose tonight, I think it's a wrap for the Bills season, because how can you say with any confidence that they're going to beat the Eagles or the Chiefs or any of those teams if they're losing home games to the Broncos?
Yeah. It just depends on which Bills team shows up tonight, doesn't it? Because, they are, they've got some terrific players. And I think Josh is playing at a really good level this year, a really high level, but I don't know. I
think their injuries. I think they're the same team that we expected them to be, a really good team. But I think their injuries on defense were just too many. It's just too much. And I don't think Rasul Douglas was enough I think they needed to do something major. I think they needed to move a 1st-round pick for a frontline player for that defense, because once you lose Milano and Daquan Jones, that's too much almost. And of course you lost Tre'Davious White as well. Yeah, so they needed to do something big. Like I don't know if they would have dangled a 1st-round pick for Brian Burns of Carolina.
Somebody. Mike Hyde's not playing tonight as well, so there's they needed
to do something. Well, as always, this show is brought to you by Factor Meals. Go to factormeals.com and use the promo code 3yardspercarry50. That's the number 3yardspercarry50. You get 50% off your first order. As always, Prize Picks. You go to Prize Picks. You put in the promo code 3yards. That's the number 3yards. You deposit $100. You get $100. There is nothing there. That's what it is. You get it immediately. It's a one-time rollover. It's the best bonus anywhere on the internet. And of course, betteredge.com/5reasons. You get $20 just for signing up. And of course, the official rum of 3 yards per carry is Black Coral Rum. If you want to learn more about a rum that's distinctly Florida, go to steeltiespirits.com. And of course, we have an official whiskey as well, which is Balcones Whiskey. So you can check that out as well. You could go to balconeswhiskey.com to find out more. And we're adding another sponsor for just the holiday season. But if you want to do some of your shopping, do it with our friends at Uncommon Goods. Go to uncommongoods.com/3 yards per carry. It's the name of our podcast, the number 3 yards per carry. And you get 15% off all your orders. All right, Simon. We're going to do like a little mid-season review here. In the first half, we're going to talk about essentially the AFC. And then the second half, we're going to review the team and where they are. We did some of that already, talking about the Bills and the Bengals and such. Where's the power here in the AFC? Who do you actually fear going forward? Because I would have said the Ravens on Sunday at about 145. And to watch them implode in the fourth quarter reminded me of what they were last year, a really good team that somehow was allergic to the fourth quarter. And to see that Lamar Jackson had one completion the entire fourth quarter in 5 attempts, and they just couldn't run the ball. Cleveland now understood Cleveland's a really good defense, but I would have thought that the scary team was Cincinnati because they're like that been there, done that type team, but now they're losing at home to the upstart Texans. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's still Kansas City, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Although, like, you do have concerns about that Kansas City offense, you know, in terms of can they consistently move the ball? You know, could the Chiefs move the ball against, I don't know. I mean, look around. Can the Chiefs move the ball? I mean, they really struggled to move the ball against the Jets.
They struggled to move the ball against the Dolphins. They had their lowest yardage total in 2 years. You
know, I suspect the road to the Super Bowl in the AFC goes through Arrowhead, right? But, you know, they got Cleveland in the playoffs, for example. You know, that Jim Schwartz is coaching out of his mind, and the defense coordinator of the Browns. You wonder whether or not they would, you know, whether they would beat Cleveland if Cleveland brought their offensive A game. So I do worry about their offense. Who frightens me in the AFC? I think, look, for the Dolphins, and I think anybody on the road frightens me, frankly. And I think I would put Buffalo, Baltimore, Cincinnati, maybe Jacksonville and Kansas City into that equation. Okay, you kind of, you know, you've got to, and until you can do it consistently, win on the road against those big teams, then I think for me personally, it's always going to be an issue. For some people, it might not be such an issue. But, you know, we got spanked in Buffalo. You know, we lost a close one to Philly, obviously different conference. We lost a close one to Kansas City, but we lost. And ultimately, what it's going to come down to, because it always does, is the quarterback's ability. You know, can we go on the road, and can the quarterback, and he hasn't been able to prove it because we haven't had the opportunity, but can he go on the road either late in the season, you know, week 16, week 17, week 18, first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, on the road, get the ball with 1:10 to go, having to drive 70 yards. Can he do it? That will ultimately always be what it comes down to, right? That's what he will ultimately be judged by. And at the moment, I think I would probably lack the confidence for this team to do it, but we're getting healthy at the right time. And yes, it's a week-to-week deal, and that could all blow up in our faces very, very rapidly with, you know, it would only take a couple of injuries to key players, and, you know, we'd be in all sorts. But it's great to hear the window opening for Devon Achane. It's great that feels like River Craycraft is close. Rob Hunt, I think, is, you know, I suspect Rob Hunt doesn't play this week. I think he'll probably play next week. And I think they're probably trying to just hold him back for Quinnen Williams. Not hold him back, but we know how cautious they're being about injuries. And I suspect, I watched Robert Hunt doing an awful lot of work in Frankfurt in the open practice. And I could have sworn that he would have played off the bye week. Now, maybe they're just being cautious because they've been pretty cautious. I mean, McDaniel said today, Achane could have played the last 4 weeks with a knee brace. So, I think they're being cautious because I think they're trying to backload the end of the season with healthy players in as much as you can do that in a sport which is extremely violent, which this is. But to answer the wider question, I think I would fear Buffalo on the road. I'd fear Baltimore on the road. I fear Cincinnati on the road. I fear Jacksonville on the road. And I fear Kansas City on the road. At home, if we had a divisional round playoff, I would take any of those teams at home. As in, I would fancy the Dolphins to win at home. Big playoff game, big playoff atmosphere in Miami. Hopefully in the evening, so the temperature's down, the stadium can be absolutely rocking and full with our fans, because I know how hot it gets there. It's difficult to watch when it's, oppressive heat during the regular season. But, night game, all the razzmatazz that comes with it in Miami, I'd fancy us against anybody. I think we could take down anybody at home, but that's the issue, right? But I think that I think if we can win the AFC East and finish obviously with a high enough seeding, play a wild card game at home on that opening weekend, and you hopefully play a divisional round game at home, depending on where you stack in terms of the AFC. And then let's see, if we get through that, let's see where the chips fall in terms of, Kansas City is sensational. They've got a great defense and they've got the best quarterback of a generation. But I don't think they're unbeatable. And I don't think they're unbeatable this year, because I don't think their offense is clicking. And it's, Mahomes and Reed talk about, we're getting into week 11 of the season. It hasn't clicked yet. They're kind of running out of time.
Yeah, and I was wondering that. On OnlyFans this past week, and some of our members had pretty good answers to this question. So I'd rather ask you to get your opinion on this. Is the Dolphin defense that good, or does Kansas City really have that many problems on offense? I think it's a mix of both, but your opinion?
I think it's a mix of both. But look, how many times did Howard and Ramsey get challenged? None. Mm-hmm. We welcome Nick Needham back. I saw Nick Needham make some good coverage, not plays because he didn't make a play on the ball, but in terms of bracketing Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I was really impressed. I was really impressed by the way that they did not do the easy thing and just put Ramsey on Kelce, and they just put everybody on Kelce.
Yeah.
And it worked.
It cost them. It cost them on the McKinnon touchdown.
Yes.
And actually, what was interesting was watching the New Heights podcast last week. I just listened to the section about the Dolphins game and the German experience. Kelce said that was actually a play. The play is designed to go to him there, and obviously, what happened was that. So what's supposed to happen is that McKinnon is supposed to be the misdirection for Kelce, and players are supposed to go with McKinnon. And he said what happened was that three defenders went with Kelce, everybody left McKinnon, and he walked in for the touchdown. I think the linebackers are playing really well, and I think David Long's playing at a Pro Bowl level, actually. Mm-hmm. And I think they're healthy on the defensive line. They need to stay healthy with Sealer and Wilkins because there's not a lot behind them. But I think Bradley Chubb's having a tremendous season. Phillips is beginning to get there. Van Ginkel is obviously a good player. So I think the defense is playing really, really well. And, it's clear that it's obvious that the scheme is, and it's kind of held together by Holland. And people were talking, like people talked today about, is Javon Holland just a good player or not? I think this is Javon Holland's best season. And I say that not because of interceptions or sacks or big plays or those sorts of things. He's just the glue that holds everything together. He's organized. I think him and Deshaun Elliott working really, really well together. I just think Holland just is so instinctive. He just shuts down so much stuff that I think that you just don't see. And I don't think the ordinary fans sees, and that's not a knock on people who watch the Dolphins. I just think that you have to understand the nuance of that position specifically and what his role is within that Vic Fangio defense to really, really appreciate and understand what Javon Holland does. Not much of it shows up in the box score and the stat sheet, but I think he's just a fine player playing at a really high level.
Yeah, and in that game against Kansas City, and you could see it on the All-22 all game, Patrick Mahomes is not an idiot. He's smart, okay? So he's going to recognize what the safeties are doing, especially on Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is not the kind to run past you anymore. So what the Dolphins were doing was just driving on everything. Most of that was Javon Holland driving on crossing routes and Mahomes saying to himself, I throw this, it's intercepted. Because he's just driving full-blown on this crossing route on Travis Kelce. That's respect for somebody like Holland.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, like, going back to your ultimate question about the AFC, like who can you look at and pinpoint that has got a good enough quarterback that plays sound enough defense, that is well coached, but has those specific players on offense that you know that he can kill you, right? Obviously, we know that we know that the Bills could do it. Josh Allen, is an insane player. The run game is kind of average, but we know that Diggs, Gabe Davis, the tight ends are good players, right? And defensively, they're pretty strong. I know, obviously, they're missing Milano, right? But the Bills, you would class as that. The Jets, you wouldn't, because they just can't move the ball on offense. The Ravens are fascinating to me because as well as I think Lamar is playing, and he is, the running game doesn't really frighten me. And at receiver, it's a bunch of guys. It's Aguilar, it's Bateman, it's Odell, it's Duvernay, it's Zay Flowers has been nice, but Mark Andrews obviously could kill you. But you kind of look at it and you think, AFC Championship, is there somebody there that really frightens you on?
And our scheme is something that it has been kryptonite to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, like the Browns, obviously Chubb is out, so that really hurts them in the run game. Ford's been okay. Ford's been nice, But again, at receiver, like take Amari Cooper out, and Marquise Goodwin, Elijah Moore, James Prochet, Cedric Tillman, David Bell. It's it's fine. Does that frighten you? Not necessarily. Jacksonville, obviously, I don't think Trevor Lawrence has played particularly well this season. Etienne's obviously a good player, but Zay Jones is injured. Kirk is nice. They've struggled to get Calvin Ridley going. Just can't get off press. And you think. And they just got absolutely spanked at home yesterday by the 49ers, like an absolute spanking by the 49ers yesterday. And we talked about the Chiefs, but I keep coming back to the Cincinnati Bengals. I just, Joe Mixon is still playing well. Joe Burrow obviously is an elite quarterback, top 3-4 in the league at worst. And then, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, those two weapons, and Higgins, those two weapons outside are
Boyd,
equal to or better than what Miami has, in my opinion.
Yeah, defense.
They're the most complete team.
Yeah, defense is good. They've got good linebackers, Pratt, Wilson. I think they're really good in the set. Cam Taylor-Britt's playing at all pro level on the back end. DJ Turner's playing well. Chidobe Awuzie is a good player. Daxton Hill is playing out of his mind. They can get to the quarterback with Hubbard. I know Hendrickson hopefully avoided a serious injury yesterday when the former Dallas guy whose name completely escapes, Noah Brown, fell on him. They get Joseph Asai's coming back. DJ Reed is a great player. They've got players. The one concern with the Bengals is the offensive line. Orlando Brown isn't playing particularly well, and they're still not good enough to keep Joe Burrow up. But that's the one team that really scares me, and it goes back to the very first question that we talked about, i.e., if you don't get the number one seed, you don't want the Bengals coming to Miami in the first round of the playoffs, because that's just that.
Yeah. Although if you get the 2 seed. Although it's going to be hard for the Bengals as currently constituted to even make the playoffs. Or do you think that 4 teams from the AFC North are going to make it? Because that leaves almost everybody else out,
Let's see who the Bengals have got whilst we're here.
Because I think if the Dolphins could get the 2 seed, the trip to the Super Bowl is not completely out of the question, because you could have somebody knock off Kansas City for you, and you don't have to go to Arrowhead, and then the entire playoffs come through Miami. Where I do feel Miami is, if not Kansas City, Miami is probably the best team in football as far as winning games at home. I think they're nearly unbeatable at home, and that's what the numbers suggest the last 2 seasons.
Okay, so the Bengals have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they've got 8 games left to play, right? They don't play a single team with a losing record. They play at the Ravens on a short week on Thursday night. Then they play Steelers the following week. Then they're at the Jaguars. Then they're at home to the Colts, which is the easiest, in inverted commas, game left in their schedule. Then they're at home to the Vikings, who are playing as well as anybody in the NFC at the moment. Then they're on the road at the Steelers, on the road at the Chiefs, and then finish at home against the Browns. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of their 8 games are divisional games, so absolutely massive.
And for whatever reason, they have problems with the Steelers and the Browns.
Yeah, and that only one of their games, so 7 of those 8 are all in conference. And we know we've already talked about how bad their in-conference record is, 1-4 at the moment. So the road to the playoffs for Cincinnati, as good as they are, is really, really tumultuous.
All right, we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we'll go over the roster. We'll go over the team at midseason, at the bye week. And just point you toward Thursday when we preview Raiders Dolphins. But first, these words. Born in Waco, Texas, Balcones Distilling is where centuries-old tradition meets the intentional and innovative craft of whiskey making. Since opening in 2008, they've been committed to creating unique and expressive whiskeys that can only be made in Texas. Their products go beyond your standard sipping whiskey using 2 yeasts and a longer fermentation and densely packed oak barrels, all intentionally and methodically done to extract more nuanced flavors. It's the Balcones way. Backed by a team who is committed to creating expansive, expressive whiskey with its original stamp every day. Experience the bold, unforgettable taste of Balcones. Discover the exciting flavors of its award-winning lineup of American single malts or the classic Baby Blue Straight corn whiskey, or get your hands on one of its special release bottles released seasonally. Visit balconesdistilling.com, balconesdistilling.com to check out their entire whiskey lineup. Balcones Whiskey, distilled to appreciate. Distilled and bottled by Balcones Distilling, Waco, Texas. Please drink responsibly. Let me tell you about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, I play PrizePicks every Monday night and every Thursday night. For Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, it just makes the games much more fun to watch. And with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that include 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, imagine playing LeBron James plus Travis Kelce at 10.5 over or under on 3 points made and receptions. Sound easy? Sound fun? I play them all the time. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/3 yards and use the promo code 3 yards for a first deposit match up to $100. If you want to hear where you get that this holiday season, Uncommon Goods is your secret weapon. Uncommon Goods is here to make your holiday shopping stress-free by scouring the globe for the most remarkable and truly unique gifts for everyone on your list. Whether you're shopping for your Secret Santa or your entire family, Uncommon Goods knows exactly what you want, like a swivel cheese and tapas board. Or how about a custom bourbon barrel Lazy Susan? When you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. These fine products are often made in small batches, so shop now before they sell out this holiday season. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $2.5 million to date. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommonGoods.com/3 yards per carry. That's the number 3 yards per carry for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods. We're all out of the ordinary. Are you a South Florida property owner with an insurance claim? Are you dealing with water, mold, or fire damage to your home or business? Are you having trouble locating a 5-star rated general contractor that is fully licensed, certified, and insured? If the answer is yes, then Water Cleanup of Florida is here for you 24 hours a day. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, Jorge, and their team is prepared to handle any size property damage disaster. When an unexpected damage occurs to your home or business, you need specialized, fast, and reliable services. Water Cleanup of Florida understands the impact and stress an unexpected disaster may cause. Their objective is to make the cleanup and insurance claim process painless and hassle-free. Water Cleanup of Florida is also a licensed general contractor, so they provide the A to Z service, one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. Water Cleanup of Florida is now an authorized dealer of Eurocraft cabinets, so premier kitchen, bath, and laundry cabinetry, countertops, and other accessories are available for your viewing at their showroom in Boca Raton. Or do you prefer to shop from your home or office? Then Water Cleanup will send you one of our design specialists to you with samples and products that fit your style and budget. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell phone if you have any questions at 954-579-0356. That's 954-579-0356. Or visit their website at wcufl.com. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. And please check out their more than 80 5-star reviews on Google and Facebook. Water cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts.
I'm Jalen Phillips, and you're listening to 3 Yards Per Carry.
All right, we're back. All right, Simon. Team's getting healthy. Yeah. They're as healthy as you can get on defense, and I think they've been extremely lucky because we did a show before the season, and we went around the table. We started asking, what concerned us the most, and the obvious answer is, of course, the health of the quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. He's been healthy this year so far, but I said we have a couple of areas on defense that are paper thin. They've been remarkably healthy at defensive tackle and linebacker, Simon. So yeah. I think that's helped them. They're getting healthy, but I want to start here on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not going to call it calamitous because Robert Hunt should be coming back, but they've taken some injuries at guard. Isaiah Wynn, there's really no word, and this is a team that doesn't want to even talk about injuries. You hope he could come back because we kind of saw a version of this offensive line that was really good with a healthy Isaiah Wynn, but you can't count on it. There's even word that they might try Kendall Lamb at left guard, although he himself has told me and others, I don't play guard. I don't even know how to play guard, and I'm not good at it. Yeah. But today they were insisting on possibly playing him at left guard. And if they play him at left guard, their goals are feel good as Teron Armstead's backup. So What are you doing at left guard, Simon? Because it's an issue. We know Robert Hunt's coming back, but for the meantime, Lester Cotton's playing there. What are you going to do at left guard?
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I don't think they will switch it up. But to me, the most secure offensive line would be Armstead, Connor Williams, Eichenberg, Hunt, and Austin Jackson. I would kick Connor Williams back to left guard and have Liam playing center, but I don't think they'll do it. But to me, that's the most secure line that we could do moving forwards. And as good as Connor has been, and he has been, the question then becomes, are you weakening two positions? Are you strengthening two positions? Is Liam as good a center as Connor? No, he's not. But is Connor a better guard? Like, how does it weigh out in terms of, I think Liam Eichenberg is a better center than he is a left guard. But I strongly suspect they won't do it. I think the issue with playing Kendall Lamb at guard is not his ability to play the position. It's if inevitably something happens to Teron Armstead, you do not want Kendall Lamb getting rolled up on or anything happening to him that means all of a sudden we've got to play the last 6 games of the season or a playoff game with Kion Smith or even Ryan Hayes bumped up off the practice squad at left tackle. Do you know what I mean? Do you want to be playing against Micah Parsons with Ryan Hayes as your, do you want to be playing like Justin Madubuike of Baltimore's playing as well as anybody in the NFL? Interior defensive lineman, but who kicks outside, reduces outside. Do you want to be playing, in that situation where Ryan Hayes is having to play, a Dafe Owe or, Madubuike or those guys from Buffalo or Trey Hendrickson in the first round of the playoffs or Josh Allen, the Jags defensive end in the first round of the playoffs? That is not a situation you want to find yourself in. So I think you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You want to get the best players on the field, but do you want to find yourself in a situation where you're either playing Kion Smith or, or the big Ryan Hayes at left tackle in a playoff game? So they do have options on the practice squad. They've also got Chasen Hines, the LSU guy, and Alama Uluave, the center, who they could possibly, play at center. But you kind of don't want to go down that path necessarily. I don't think they'll move it, and I think ultimately moving forwards it'll be Lester Cotton. I suppose it'll be Eichenberg and Cotton at guard this week, isn't it? I mean, Hunt out, Jones out, so we would go Armstead, Eichenberg, Williams, Cotton, Jackson. I suspect is how we line up against the Raiders, right?
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be. And this is Austin Jackson's biggest test of the entire season because Max Crosby, and we'll talk about it on Thursday. Max Crosby, in my opinion, is the best edge player in football this season.
Best all-round edge player because he plays the run as well as he plays, and his motor is insane, but he plays the run as well as he plays the pass. Give Austin Jackson credit, though. This is comfortably his best season as a pro. And I never thought I'd say these words on this podcast or anywhere else, but I think he's probably deserving of an extension. And it may only be a short extension, like a 2-year deal or whatever. like you wouldn't obviously break the bank for him, but I think he's proved that he can play at a high enough level to be a competent plus NFL starter at right tackle. And, you know, that's, like I said, that's not a position I think any of us thought we'd find ourselves in.
No, he's been very good. And if you're a fan of counting stats, he has them too. PFF actually loves them as well. If that's your sort of thing, it's not my sort of thing. Another area that's kind of unsettled, and it might get settled pretty clearly tomorrow. We recorded this on a Monday. I say tomorrow because River Craycraft is coming, and let's face it, he's coming off of the 21 days, the 21-day window, and he will be activated because what's the use of practicing the guy for almost 3 weeks straight and then not activating him, right?
Yeah.
So you got to figure River Craycraft comes back tomorrow at 4 p.m., which means somebody has to go.
Yeah, I think Robbie Chosen is the guy that needs to not pick up his phone tomorrow. I suspect that he will be the guy who's the odd one out.
If you don't pick up your phone, Simon, do you really avoid getting cut? Like if you don't hear it, you just show up. You just show up to the facility no matter what the next day.
If the tree falls in the forest but nobody's there, does it make a sound?
Yeah, I like Robbie. I like Robbie Chosen. He's shown some things. He's played well when asked, but it could be the numbers are catching up with him. I will say this: Cedric Wilson made a really nice play against the Chiefs. Yeah, but have you noticed how the ball is always hitting the ground around Cedric Wilson? Like he has no chemistry with Tua Tagovailoa.
And also how almost all of the pre-snap penalties are because of Cedric.
Oh my God, he erased a 31-yard gain that could have been pivotal in that game. The back shoulder fade to Jalen Waddle. Yeah, that would have set up the Dolphins at the 12-yard line. You don't know what happens in that game.
It's always him that's being motioned from one side to the other because he's either lined up in the wrong place or that's a concern. That's a concern. And I think that gets eliminated when River comes back because I think Craycraft has A, trust, B, an innate understanding of the offense because he's played the scheme under Kyle Shanahan, under Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. He's also our best blocking receiver, so I think that it immediately improves the run game. And I said it on social media this week, I said on Twitter this week, I think that the Dolphins have missed Craycraft significantly more than most fans would think they have for those reasons. His understanding of nuance, his nuance as a route runner, and his ability in the run game, because like I said, he is the best blocker, and in terms of certainly those are skill position players at running back and wide receiver, I think obviously Durham Smile and especially Julian Hill when he hits his targets are very good, but I think Craycraft is right up there. He's a very solid player.
All right. Early reviews on Claypool. Do you expect more from him going forward, or is this what we're going to get? Just a guy that plays a few snaps, maybe effectively, maybe not.
They clearly like him because he was in and out of the game a fair bit in Frankfurt. Mm-hmm. He didn't get the ball a lot, and you wonder kind of what his value is in terms of what can he provide. I just don't think I've seen enough of him yet to have a definitive decision. It doesn't look like they're necessarily trusting him in the pass game as anything more than a decoy and a guy who's kind of refining his form as a blocker, because he was a very good blocker at Notre Dame and early on in Pittsburgh. But you wonder whether or not Claypool and Chosen are going to be under threat obviously by Craycraft. We wonder what's happening to Eric Ezukanma, obviously a non-football injury, and is he going to come back this season at all? And then look what happens because, I was told early on that Claypool's role would be early doors, similar to what it was in Pittsburgh, which was, some of those kind of handoffs in terms of, on jet sweeps and reverses and those sorts of things. The signing of Anthony Schwartz today makes you think that, there is a guy with Olympic speed. I mean, this is not a guy with speed. This is a guy with Olympic speed. He was the world under 1800 meter runner, the best 100 meter runner under the age of 18 on the planet. He has run a 10:07 100 meters. I mean, that is an insane time for a human being. He ran a 4:25 at the combine. This is a guy that, you want to try and get the ball into space to. So you wonder whether or not the Dolphins have some plays for him, potentially, whether he gets brought up. So.
All right. And what we're going to do right here is we're going to talk about what we expect for the second half, what we expect the team to do for the second half. And we'll finish up the show by giving out some awards. I will go first what I expect from the second half is the return of Devon Achmed, of Devon Achane. Okay, because I got Savon Achman in the brain because he's the new whipping boy for Dolphins Twitter. Everybody's upset with Savon Achmed all of a sudden. The return of Devon Achane, I think, should return a little bit more balance to this team. And what I mean by that is I understand that their rushing numbers were okay against Kansas City, but that was only really fueled by a couple of late runs. I expect a return to total balance on this offense and the passing game to get kick-started back into MVP territory for Tua Tagovailoa as they find their passing game with Devon Achane. I think he's going to be huge and key in the second half of this season, and I do expect the defense to get better throughout the season and be as advertised. If you noticed their rushing numbers, teams just don't run on this team, and that's with these light boxes. And as their passing defense gets better, as they're creeping into the top 10 in every category, I expect this defense to be really, really good, and I do expect this team to be, at the very least, the 2 seed at regular season's end. Your thoughts,
yeah,
Simon?
I think the defense will get significantly better as the season goes on if they can stay healthy. And we talked about it earlier, but the cornerbacks are almost unchallengeable in terms of, how Ramsey and Howard are playing. Holland playing out of his mind. Elliott playing really well. Long playing brilliantly. And they can get after the quarterback with 4. They apply simulated pressure, which is really useful. I think what Achane does, because of his speed, he essentially makes, even if the ball's not going to him, it removes it means that a high-level player has to be covering it, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's a safety. Even if he lines up out wide, it means a corner, and it just means that somebody else is going to be open because of the threat he has, A, with his speed, B, as a running back, and C, as my missus shuts the washing machine door, as the threat in the pass game, in the run game, and just his general threat. Somebody has to cover him, and you can't just put, your 6th defensive back on him if he lines up out wide. He has to be accounted for on every single snap, and that, I think, makes the absolute difference.
All right, now let's give out a couple awards here, 3 in total. I'll start. Let's give a unit award. What's been our best unit this year? And it's too lazy to say quarterback because Tua is having a nice season. I'm going to go a little bit off the wall here. And I know most would say, how about that offensive line? It's been pretty good. Well, it's had some bad moments in some of these losses. It's also lazy to say the wide receivers. And I thought Tyreek Hill was absolutely awful against Kansas City. So I'm going to go with a unit that I think has had only one bad game, and it was in week 1. Okay? Because I even thought against the Bills, they were okay. It was just the secondary that was absolutely abjectly disastrous, and that's the defensive line. And I'm going to count the edge players among them. I think that's been the best Dolphin unit this season. What say you, Simon?
Yeah, I think, look, it's a 7-man rotation essentially when you look at Davis and Hand and Ogba and Sealer and Wilkins and Chubb and Phillips. And I think they're all 8, I suppose, if you throw in Andrew Van Ginkel as well. They're all making contributions, small or large. Ogba had a pick. Deshaun Hands, is playing well in a rotation. We obviously know how well Sealer and Wilkins are playing. The edge guys, especially Chubb, are getting after it. Van Ginkel's had a boatload of plays. To me, it's got to be the offensive line, because we kind of had the lowest expectations, not only of the coach, but also the unit. If you take Teron Armstead, we were like, oh, well, Armstead's great. He's an all-pro player, but he can't stay healthy, right? Big question marks left guard. Who's going to play at left guard? Have we even got a guy there? Center.
It's actually been worse with Teron Armstead than we thought, because the man has played 3 games and we're in week 11.
Yeah, but that to me just speaks to the strength of Kendall Lamb, who I think has played like an upper echelon left tackle when he's had to go in. Isaiah Wynn played pretty well at left guard before he went on to IR. Connor Williams has been excellent at center. People say, oh, the snaps. I totally get that, but it may be 4 or 5 bad snaps the entire season. You have to take it as a whole. The guy's playing 65 plus snaps a game. Rob Hunt's been excellent, and the fact that he's missed one game, it's the first game he's missed in his entire career. And we've already talked about Austin Jackson. He's played at a really high level, for him. Eichenberg played well at center. He had a couple of bad moments. Lester Cotton's been okay. And I think a huge credit to that group, to that unit. Even Kyle Smith, when he came in, had a few snaps left tackle, didn't embarrass himself. But I think, Kendall Lamb's been the absolute hero, just stepping up and playing at a very good level when needed to. And, as disappointing as it would be if Teron Armstead had to go out of the game, I had complete confidence that Kendall Lamb could handle assignments against pretty much anybody in the league. Is he going to struggle 1v1 against Myles Garrett? Yes. Is anybody going to struggle 1v1 against Myles Garrett? Yes. Is it going to be a difficult night for Austin Jackson against Max Crosby? Absolutely, because Crosby is long, he's physical, he's got a motor that just doesn't stop ticking. He's an elite player. But, I kind of trust that Jackson will be okay. So to me, the offensive line would be the unit.
All right, and I think we could run through these very quickly. Defensive Player of the Year, I have Bradley Chubb so far. You have?
Yeah, Bradley Chubb.
All right, and Team MVP, I got Tua.
I got Tyreek.
All right, so we'll call it right there. On Thursday, we will talk Raiders, Dolphins. See you then.
Thanks for listening to 3 Yards Per Carry. You can subscribe via iTunes, on Podbean, or your usual podcast provider.
Experience the Florida Blue Florida Classic. Get your tickets now at floridaclassic.org.
Save a Child's Heart is partnering with the Sylvan Adams Children's Hospital and Wolfson Medical Center in order to help Israelis in their time of need. You can support the medical team located in Holon, Israel, who are working tirelessly to help the victims of Hamas. Your donation will help provide emergency medical equipment and supplies and help house survivors of the attacks. Learn more about their cause at saveachildsheart.org. Please help us. Donate now. Support our efforts in Israel.